Hey everybody, it's Ms. Hunt, and this is the video for Module 8. All right, so we first started off class by collecting some work. We turned in some sheets from last week. The enzyme lab, okay, for the lactose intolerance lab, that lab report got turned in today. We also took up the paper quiz, the enzyme quiz that was on paper, that got turned in today. And then the POGL also got turned in today from last week from the enzymes. If you don't have those things, finish them up. You can give them to me later this week. And of course, if you're online, all these things are available online. You can do them online and turn them in online. But if you want paper copies, I've got the paper copies. You can be able to get that too. So after we took up those, we got going in some notes. We got a lot of papers to distribute this week. So you can see it on the Google Classroom right here. The Chapter 9 notes are on here. I'm going to lecture through these in just a second. The notes were so big that we had to put the videos separate. So this one right here on cellular respiration is really good. I've watched that one a couple of times, and it explains cellular respiration very well. I definitely recommend it. All right, this is the cellular respiration worksheet that honestly I gave you in honors biology. But if you don't understand the basics of, what did I do? Okay. I think I hit print. There we go. If you don't understand the basics of cellular biology, of cellular respiration, then you're going to have a hard time understanding this. So this is what I recommended everybody to do after Monday, Tuesday, after having them in class. Complete this worksheet and go through here and make sure you know what you're talking about. Okay? You can get the basics down. Okay? Good gravy. Okay, then I gave everybody a copy of this crash course paper. You can also do it online. Looks like one kid has. Yay! The video is right here, and I'm going to give you 2 points extra credit for completing that. The video is good. It's a crash course. He talks really fast. I don't really love that, but it does help understand the process a little bit better. Okay, this is what we're going to be working on Wednesday, Thursday is the POGL. So we're going to be doing that during class. Hopefully kids can finish through that. The cellular respiration review, I'll take also. That's going to be your homework after Wednesday, Thursday to complete that and get that done. And then you have a review in Pearson, okay, on Chapter 9 for Pearson. Nothing in the AP classroom this week. Last week, you guys had some work in the AP classroom that's due. All right, this was down here from the College Board. All right, you have to install the Lockdown browser in order to answer those questions. Those questions, I get to choose from a list of questions that are approved by the College Board. And some of them have like a blue star, like this is the best question. But in order to answer those questions that are very similar to an AP exam, you have to lock down the browser. They don't want you looking at the internet while you're taking the test from home. You have to have that lockdown browser. If you have a Chromebook from school, you probably can't download the lockdown browser, and that presents a problem. Do we have those perfect, great questions, or do we go with the not so great questions? Most of you guys are wanting the really good questions that are similar to the AP exam. So that's why I'm putting those on the test. If you can't take it from home, you have options. You can take it from 7:45 until 8:30 in the morning in my classroom. Come in here and work. I'll stay after school with you from 3:30 to 4:30, and you can take it then. And also, you can come in on Fridays. I'm here on Friday. The classroom is empty. the Chromebooks are here. You can come in, take it, and then go home. That's the best I can do. I've given you 3 other options of places and times to take the lockdown browser test if you can't take them at home. I hope that it helps you and gives you a chance to get them done. Those questions are so good. I need you to practice them because they're similar to what you're going to see on the exam. And they're also things that everybody else is being allowed access to. So I need you to get the same quality work that everybody else in America is getting for AP Bio. I hope that helps. Okay. Also, with all of our work, the due date is flexible. You guys are having problems in and out of the classrooms. We're being quarantined. Kids are coming, kids are going, people are getting sick. Due dates are flexible. Here is what I went over in class. I want you to do all the work I assign in the Google Classroom because it causes you to repeat things over and over and for you to get a deep understanding of what we're supposed to learn. However, if you are sick, your family member's sick, someone's in the hospital, things are going bad, you don't have time for all this. Your family is more important. Your health is more important. So you can do the assignments, just the assignments that I put on Infinite Campus for a grade. The rest of it, recording, sorry. Yeah. The rest of it, you were gonna not do, okay, because that gives you a chance to get caught up. Okay, so if you are sick and you have to prioritize, just do the assignments that are graded on Infinite Campus. Okay, the rest of it, ignore. Now, that does not help you pass the AP exam. You will not learn as much as everybody else, but you can save your grade for the class and you can continue and get caught up. I know that that's, I hope that that's something that can help you guys out. So again, if you're sick and you just can't do it all, only do the assignments that I'm putting on Infinite Campus as a grade. The rest of it, you'll just won't do. And your knowledge will be affected during that time. I want you to make sure you understand that, okay? All right, if you have any questions, email me and let me know. The other part is if you are quarantined, which is probably gonna happen more often, you are responsible for doing all the work in the Google Classroom. If you're quarantined and you never get sick, there is no reason why you didn't do all those assignments. If you don't have internet access or a device at home, then you can either come to our parking lot and use the wireless, use our Wi-Fi here on campus, or you can let me know and I will print out everything for you and you can come by the school and pick it up. Okay, I hope that helps you understand what you're supposed to do. Okay, now we're going to move towards lecturing for Module 8. And I'm going to go through here. I'm actually going to go through the PowerPoint only because the videos are all linked in and everything is in here. Okay. Okay. And I don't know. If you're seeing what I'm seeing, then it might not look so good. Let me just exit out of here, and I'm just going to go from here. Now, in class, I printed out a copy of the notes for this. So everybody got this so they could write on the side and add the information. You can come by and pick this up. I can have this in the attendance office if you want it, but that's what I did to help everybody else out this time. Also, I printed out this. This is really helpful for us to go through everything today. It's been pretty good to refer back to. So I'll use that over and over today. Okay, view presentation. Hopefully this won't take forever in a day. Okay, I have to find the right place for my face. Okay, living cells need energy. You know this, it's a characteristic of living things that we have to get energy. And of course, animals are going to get energy from outside sources. You need to, get energy to assemble polymers. That's your biochemistry. Do membrane transport. That was transportation across the cell membrane. Moving and reproduction, which we will get to later on. Animals are going to obtain energy by eating, okay? Energy flows in an ecosystem as sunlight leaves its heat. And basically, you just need to know this right here. So this is our first big picture, okay? And this shows photosynthesis and cellular respiration. What you want to know here is photosynthesis is only in plants. Cellular respiration is only in animals. And actually, plants do both, photosynthesis and cellular respiration. You want to know plants do both. Animals just do cellular respiration. You want to know that the product of cellular respiration is the reactant to photosynthesis, and the product of photosynthesis is the reactant into cellular respiration. You want to know that this process takes light energy and turns it into ATP and releases it as heat energy, okay? Today we're going to be talking about cellular respiration in the mitochondria. There is some chemistry before we get going, and the book does a good job of going through this. Catabolic pathways are going to be releasing energy by breaking down molecules. I always put this picture of a cat knocking a cup over as catabolic breaks or catabolic releases the energy. Anabolic builds, cat breaks. Electrons are going to be transferred, and the easiest way I can explain this is to think about electrons as hydrogens, because it's easy for us to follow the hydrogens within the molecules. It is all about the hydrogen, the hydrogen, the hydrogen. It's all about the hydrogen, the hydrogen, the hydrogen. Follow the hydrogens as they move through, and that is your electrons. Very much like this is like electricity. So like the lights that are powering up here are basically electrons that are moving on a copper wire through our lights to give us electricity. We're going to move electrons through our body to give us electricity, to build adenosine triphosphate, and to make energy for our body. Moving these electrons heats our body and causes our body to have energy that we need. Okay? All right, here are the 3 catabolic pathways. Fermentation, which we did last week when we did the lactose lab. We fed yeast sugar, and they did fermentation. They broke down the sugar, the lactose, without using oxygen. Aerobic respiration uses oxygen, and that's really big. That's what we're going to basically be focusing on, is aerobic respiration and using oxygen. And the big question is, why do we breathe oxygen? We're going to follow that oxygen today. Then anaerobic is similar to aerobic, but it consumes compounds other than oxygen. All right, cellular respiration is actually both aerobic and anaerobic, but we're really going to call it aerobic respiration. So there are parts that are anaerobic, but the whole process uses oxygen, so it's really referred to as aerobic respiration. In our formula, go ahead and memorize the formula. We've got glucose coming in plus oxygen. We're yielding carbon dioxide, water, and we're going to make ATP. Now, make sure you kind of note this. ATP, adenosine triphosphate, we're not making the phosphate here. We're moving the hydrogens that allow for the ATP synthase to work and produce the ATP. That's what we're moving around to make that energy. All right, we're going to use glucose, even though all carbs, fats, and proteins can be broken down as fuel. We're just using glucose to make it simpler. I know, this is simpler. Can you believe it? We're going to use glucose for this, okay? But memorize. Glucose comes in, C6H12O6 plus 6O2, yields 6 carbon dioxide plus 6 water plus energy. You have to memorize that. Okay, I told you earlier it's about the hydrogens. So this is the hydrogen ion that's right here, and he's coming through. These are the protein transports in that cell membrane. We're also going to look at, and I think this is actually the mitochondria. It is. This is the mitochondria. So he also has a membrane because he's a membrane-bound organelle. So we're going to look at how these guys right here, NADH and FADH, work. These two are called electron carriers. Remember, they're carrying that hydrogen. That hydrogen gets dropped off and it pops through these transport proteins. Very much like electricity moves through wires. So the NADH is basically, he's NAD, he picks up a hydrogen, he's NADH, he drops it off. FAD comes by, he's FAD, he picks up a hydrogen, he's FADH, he drops off the hydrogen. So these two are going to just carry electrons. They're actually coenzymes, so they can be reused over and over and over again. And their whole purpose is to allow that hydrogen to move through the transports. This is your chemistry, okay? Transferring electrons, and remember, electrons and hydrogen is all the same. It's all about the hydrogen, the hydrogen, the hydrogen. Transferring electrons is called an oxidation reduction reaction or a redox reaction, moving the hydrogens. So cellular respiration is moving the hydrogens. In oxidation, a substance loses electrons or is oxidized. The amount of a positive charge is increased because he's going to lose the hydrogens. In a reduction, a substance gains electrons. I know, you're going to gain electrons and the amount of a positive charge is reduced, okay? If you gain an electron, in my brain, you're gaining, you're reducing. This doesn't make sense, but you have to think that we're gaining a negative, so the positive charge goes down, okay? All right, look here. Here is salt. This is sodium. Sodium is going to give up an electron. If you give up an electron, you have more positive protons than electrons. You get a positive charge. He becomes oxidized because he loses the electron. Chlorine gets reduced because he's going to gain an electron and become more negative, okay? Oxidized and reduced, okay? This is the same thing. We become oxidized, we become reduced. It gets complicated. The electron donor is called the reducing agent. So if something gets oxidized, it's because of a reducing agent. I know, this is crazy. The electron receptor is called the oxidizing agent. Some redox reactions don't even transfer electrons, but change the electron sharing into covalent bonds. We're not even going to go there. Okay, let's look at this big picture. I had to tell you, I had to go see Miss Reese on this one to help me figure out what was happening. Okay, let's look at this. This is methane. Okay, but it's all about the hydrogens. Remember, here is hydrogen attached to the carbon, and carbon loses those hydrogens and becomes carbon dioxide. So he becomes oxidized because he loses those hydrogens. Oxygen becomes reduced because he gains the hydrogens. Remember, reduce, we gain more negative. He's not a negative charge, but he's gaining more hydrogens, and those are the same things as electrons. So methane is considered a reducing agent because he is causing the hydrogen to leave and go to the oxygen. Oxygen is called an oxidizing agent because he is going to collect the hydrogens. Methane becomes oxidized, oxygen becomes reduced, okay? These diagrams down here, you don't have to worry about. This is what threw me for a loop. I saw 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4, 6, 8, and I said nothing changed. The electrons didn't change. But then I had to remember, it's all about the hydrogens, the hydrogens. Where are the hydrogens? Here they are. And here they get reduced or oxidized. They disappear by the reducing agent. I'm not even making this stuff up. That's that complicated. Okay. In an oxidation, so in cellular respiration, we are breaking apart the hydrogens. So I put this picture here because I thought that was pretty cool. We did lactose last week, and you can see how many hydrogens are in each of these molecules. Remember, carbohydrates are in a 1 to 2 to 1 ratio. So 1 to 2 to 1 ratio. But look at lactose, 22 hydrogens. That's a lot of energy. And think, lactose is in milk, and that's what we give babies to drink and grow. That's why babies grow so fast, is we're giving them a lot of energy so that they can grow fast. All right. Glucose is oxidized and oxygen is reduced. Organic molecules with an abundance of hydrogen are excellent sources of high energy electrons. Okay, this is what we need to memorize. Glucose becomes oxidized into carbon dioxide. Oxygen becomes reduced into water. Glucose is the reducing agent and turning it into CO2. Oxygen, now I've lost it, is the oxidizing agent that's going to turn it into water. Okay? All right. Move me over here. NADH and NAD is a coenzyme. So it's an electron acceptor. It can take the hydrogens and move it around. It's going to move it through an electron transport chain. Okay, this is the formula for it. We don't have to know it. Okay. All right, NADH passes the electrons to the electron transport chain. Unlike an uncontrolled reaction, the electron transport chain passes in a series of steps. So I'm going to show you. It goes from one to the next, to the next, to the next. So this is all the electron moving through. Okay. All right, on this one, I recognize that graph and I'm like, whoa, that's Gibbs free energy. We just talked about this. So what you should see is that this is where the energy is starting, and that the product down here, water, is lower. So I even drew on my paper like a little graph showing where it starts and then how it ends. So that tells me it is exothermic. My Gibbs free energy is negative, and this is a spontaneous reaction using some of my prior knowledge right there. Okay. This is that electron transport chain that the electrons move down, and I'm going to show you another picture of that too. Okay, you need to know that there are 3 stages for cellular respiration. Glycolysis, the citric acid cycle, and oxidative phosphorylation. All right, look at this one though. Okay. All right, so we'll start here. Here is glycolysis, right here. We want to know that it happens outside in the cytoplasm or cytosol. We're going to take glucose and we're going to split it apart into 2 pyruvates. Pyruvate. This is going to be sent inside to this guy. He's called the acetyl-CoA. We're going to skip him for a second. All right, our paper calls this right here the Krebs cycle, K-R-E-B. Krebs is also the same word for citric acid cycle. I know. Citric acid cycle and Krebs cycle are the same thing. He goes over this in the crash course video, if that helps. But maybe next to this in the middle, you want to write citric acid cycle, or also known as citric acid cycle. All right, then we are going to use this to pop off the hydrogens. Ooh, sorry, right here. And we're going to go to the last thing, which is called the oxidative phosphorylation. It is also referred to as the electron transport chain. So It's both. It is an electron transport chain, but it's also called the oxidative phosphorylation. Oxidative phosphorylation doesn't really help me identify what it is. Electron transport does, because we're literally moving an electron through all of this, and that kind of helps me understand it a little bit better. In the book, glycolysis is going to be blue. The orange color is going to be the citric acid cycle, also known as Krebs. And then this purple color is oxidative phosphorylation, also known as electron transport chain. Okay, here is the big picture, and kind of have it here too. Okay, we've got glycolysis on the outside. We have glucose coming in. Thanks. You can just leave it right there. Appreciate it.
Did you forget one of your scales back?
Did I lose one of them?
No, did you borrow, because I borrowed from you?
Okay. I don't know.
No? Okay.
They're on the shelf right there if you need some.
Well, I don't need any.
Okay.
It's just I had 3 and I have 2 now. So
I don't
know.
think I grabbed them from you. Okay. All right. Sorry. Okay, here is glycolysis on the outside. This is that electron carrier, NAD. He's picked up a hydrogen, and he's going to be dropping it off right here to split apart glucose into the 2 pyruvates. All right, and then some ATP is made during this process, 2 ATP exactly. The cool thing is this happens before it gets into the mitochondria. So this allows bacteria and your prokaryotes to do glycolysis. They can't do the rest of it. They don't have a mitochondria, but they can break it apart to make 2 energy molecules right there. We are more efficient. We have the mitochondria. So our pyruvate is going to move in. Now, this is a great time for you to, after you listen to this part, to go and watch the video on the mitochondria. It is a great video, and it goes through all this again. So that might be a good time to stop here, go back and watch the video, and then come back here. Okay, the pyruvate comes in, and he gets broken apart into acetyl-CoA. Acetyl-CoA is right here. Acetyl-CoA enters the citric acid cycle and is going to spin twice around here. And each time it makes 1 ATP. So another total of 2 ATP popping off here. The citric acid cycle is basically breaking apart hydrogens. We're going to go to the NADH and the FADH. All those H's are the hydrogens from the glucose, all going through here. The hydrogens go into the electron transport chain. Oxidative phosphorylation happens, and we pop hydrogen, 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 passing it one to the next, to the next, to the next. We're going to look at it again in just a few minutes. And we get a total of 34 ATP coming out here. 34 plus 2 plus 2 for a total of 38. Now, all of our papers will say approximately 38 because people have different metabolisms, and the book goes into talking about this, but you just have to memorize 38 is fine. Okay? All right. There is another video. There's the video for you to watch. It's very good. Okay? All right. The process that generates almost 90% of the ATP is the oxidative phosphorylation, that electron transport chain. Okay? This is that coenzyme binding in to make the ADP into ATP and adding that extra electron or extra phosphate in. For each molecule of glucose degraded, carbon dioxide, and water by respiration, the cell makes up to 32 molecules of ATP. Okay, we said total of 38. All right, it's going to talk about using glucose as like money, like a big dollar, like a $100 bill. And as it comes in, it's going to break it apart. So let's go back and try to think about that. So if I have $100 coming in of glucose, I'm going to break that bill, but breaking bonds releases energy. So I'm going to release energy here. Let's say I split it into 250s. This comes in and it's still in a big bill. I still can't really spend it. It's still in a 50. I changed its name. I called it a pound or a euro, but it's still money. It's coming around the citric acid cycle. I get 2 more energies popping off and I start breaking it down. Now I'm breaking it down to dollar bills. Every single dollar comes through here and makes more energy coming through here. So it's like we have a big $100 bill, and we're going to be stuck with just $1 bills at the end, and we're hopefully making some ATP in this process. Okay. Okay. We've gone through where this happens. Okay. All right. This picture, you can use the picture that has all the parts passed through. That's really good. It's like got a swirly pictures on it for the for photosynthesis for cellular respiration. It's really good. You should know then the glucose comes in. We're actually going to use 2 ATP to make 2 ADP and ATP right there. The glucose comes through, and this is how much we're going to add and how much we get out coming through here. We're going to net at the end, we can't see it, that 38 ATP. Okay. All right. Do not memorize this. This is a bunch of crazy. Every time there's hydrogen that pop off, the glucose changes its name into something else. Fructose, you don't have to know all these things. Glyceraldehydes, you don't have to know it. But just know that it changes as it moves through. Okay? All right. After the pyruvate is oxidized, the citric acid cycle is going to complete this. Okay, and we turn it into acetyl-CoA. We kind of went through this. There's the picture again. Okay, more that pyruvate right there coming in, coenzyme A binding to it and helping do that. You can see NADH dropping off the hydrogen. Okay, and then we get to the citric acid cycle. And again, it goes through the citric acid cycle twice. Here we go. Okay, these pictures kind of show how it comes through. I liked the crash course video when he went through and showed you all this. I thought that was pretty good. Remember, if you do the worksheet, you get 2 points extra credit. You can see that acetyl-CoA comes in and helps bind this. You can see that NAD comes through and takes off a hydrogen. He's going to use that in the electron transport chain. You see some ATP getting made. You see FAD picking up a hydrogen. He's using that in the electron transport chain. NAD picks up more. So that's the whole thing, was to go around this and pop off hydrogens. Okay, it's going to go through all little steps right there. Things like this you don't have to memorize. Just know NAD and FAD. Okay, all right. During the last part, during that electron transport chain, these 2 electron carriers donate electrons, the FADH2 and the NADH, are going to be popping off those electrons. The electron transport chain is in the inner membrane of the mitochondrion. Most of the chain's components are protein, which exist in multi-protein complexes. The electrons drop in free energy as they go down the chain and are finally passed to oxygen. So here's why we take in oxygen. He is there to accept the hydrogens because we're moving those hydrogens through. We're powering that ATP synthase, but then where do they go? They have to have somebody to bind to. They have to have somebody who pulls them to them, and that's oxygen. He's pulling those hydrogens, forming that bond, like, come to me. The hydrogens move, creating the energy, fueling the ATP synthase, and then they end up in the oxygen, forming water, which is a waste. Electrons carriers alternate between reduced and oxidized states, the hydrogens moving in and out, as they accept and donate electrons. Okay? All right, more of this. Okay. This picture, you do not have to memorize all these weird little letters. Just know, here comes the hydrogen. And I think about this as like a soccer play. My kids like to play soccer. I like to watch soccer. Here comes the hydrogen or soccer ball. It comes in. It's past the next player. It's past the next and the next and the next. We're kicking it down. We're kicking it down. Oh, I can see the goal. Here's the goal. That oxygen. Hydrogen's kicked down. Hydrogen's coming out. Score. Binds the oxygen, makes water. While it's going through here, it's turning the ATP synthase. That is creating the adenosine triphosphate. That is our storage unit for energy. Okay. They've also put this in a Gibbs free energy. You can see we start off high, we end low. This is spontaneous. This is an exergonic reaction. My Gibbs is negative. We don't have to memorize all of these little guys, but we do want to find this guy, NADH and NADH and FADH. Those are the two we want to know are the electron carriers. The reason why I breathe in is to have somewhere for the hydrogens to go. And I just made a little water. Okay. All right. The rest of this is that ATP synthase. The video does a good job in showing what it looks like, that it's turning as those hydrogens come through. We're pumping and turning and pushing the ADP into ATP, which is our energy molecule. That's the ATP synthase. Okay. There's 2 videos that go along with this that are very helpful that I've put in the Google Classroom for you to have. Okay. All right. This is again going through the membrane, the mitochondria membrane. This is the electron transport chain. Here comes the hydrogen. He's coming up, pops off. Here comes the next. FADH brings the hydrogen. He pops off. He comes through here, pops off the second one. Okay. And then this is where we breathe the oxygen to bind to a hydrogen to make water. ATP synthase comes through here. More hydrogen ions pop through, making the ATP. This is the ATP synthase. And he looks like a little wheel that turns, and turns make that ATP. Okay? All right. The rest of it, I think you've got. Here is the about 34% of the energy in glucose molecule is transferred to ATP, making about 32. Anywhere from 32 to 38 is an acceptable number. The rest of it is lost as heat energy. Okay? All right. Hopefully that helps clear up. Everything on this page you should memorize. Okay? If you have any questions about this, you need to ask me. But I think if you watch the crash course video, you watch the video that's with these notes in the same container, it'll definitely help you. Okay, I'm going to exit here. Go back and remind you. This is the video. This is the basics to no cellular respiration. This is the crash course video that will help. Okay, all right. And then hopefully that has helped you, and you can go back through and read the notes. And that's the other thing. Last week on Tuesday, I read these notes. On Wednesday, I read the notes again. On Thursday, I read the book. I took the book home and I read the book. It's painful, but I read it. On Friday, I met with Miss Reese and I said, explain to me the chemistry. Go through this with me. And she did. On Sunday, I came here and I spent another hour and I went through the notes, everything all over again. I've kind of got it figured out, okay? Enough to be able to teach you. You have to go through it over and over and over. You have to read the book. You have to read the notes several times, over and over and over, for you to get it. Otherwise, you're not going to get it. All right, good luck. Let me know what I can do to help you out. Have a great day.